Hey, it's Dr. Mike. I'm going to take off my glasses because I don't need them, although I could read what I just wrote. I'm making this as a very brief, hopefully short video for two people. Right now, two yin people in my life who I think is an important juncture right now to consider. And if you know who I'm referring to, because you're that person, it's because we had a recent conversation. Two, I followed up by an email. And three, I have this video now. In some cases, though, you might have already watched or seen something earlier or from my Mike's Mastermind podcast. So here's the quick breakdown. I travel in a week. This is my last free week before I go to San Diego for the Secret Knock. Now, what's that all going to be about? So that's going to open up a whole new paradigm, part of the shift I imagine, depending how I come into it and what the experience is, because the secret knock is what it is. It's a secret knock. And opportunity is going to be there. So how to best prepare myself and what's presented. So that's immediately my future. It's actually a week from tomorrow. There's going to be an evening thing. And then I would have this quick opportunity to jump over to Las Vegas for a CEO type luncheon, which would be really great for networking. But I'm due in Florida, which is fun, that evening for a networking thing for the day before, for the real networking thing. So it's like cocktails, happy hour before the actual event. Now, maybe I can do both, depending on when I catch the flights and how quickly I can get to the airport from Vegas from lunch, which I haven't even booked any of these flights yet, although I do have places to stay. So, that's really an important consideration because what is going to evolve in the next 2 weeks is really great potential. And I understand where you're presented with an opportunity, because I remember this back in the old days where I promoted different seminar speakers, and you know who I'm talking about, where we would encounter maybe somebody at the airport who would come up as a fan, but they wouldn't realize it was a motivation speaker or an author. And they'd say, oh man, I watch your info commercial, but they don't realize it's an infomercial. They say, I watch your show every week. And you said, the same show every week? Yeah, I love it. So do you not realize it's the same show? It's an infomercial. It's a half hour, 1 hour, depending what we produced. Infomercial. We have them for radio too. Just like you're hearing a presentation sounding like an interview, but it's actually enlightening something. But it's always the same topic and it's the same idea, and it's just a repeat of the show. Now with a podcast, we could do it fresh every week. But back then, for radio, you recorded it once because you weren't going to be doing a live show every week. You were in another city doing a seminar. But that one show, and you've seen it with vitamin products and whatever it is, special offers, things that are happening nowadays. It could be a giveaway. What are you giving away, Dr. Mike? Ideas for quantum consciousness. Tune in. So here's the opportunity. There's obviously a shift happening right now. We feel it in our society, whether we call it the masstrance.com or some kind of phenomenon that's happening or psychic attack, given on what level it is and how we're all affected by it. We have our own agendas and lists to do. Could there be a way of combining ideas, I'm talking about collaboration on a really high level that takes you out of the other dimension? Because here's what I'm getting. You had the experience to connect, and there was no follow-up except me reaching out to you and saying, hey, I really enjoyed our experience. In some cases, there was a text or there was a message. I'm talking to a couple different people here. Or it was a LinkedIn a message. And sometimes on occasion for another friend of mine, but we do keep in regular contact. We would do that and add also a Facebook thing. So that's quite a bit for me. I prefer email where we can be a bit more detailed and concise. And you could send a text letting me know that, hey, I just sent you this. So I know to look for it and, hey, I can pay attention to it or know to schedule the time to engage. Because I do feel that these ideas are perhaps changing. But what I see a lot of times, and again, I'm not wanting to make minutia the model. But there's an irresponsibility to oneself and the appreciation and also gratitude, right? That this is appreciative inquiry to at least take it to the next level. And I understand 24 hours, maybe even 48 hours for consideration, but a whole week going by and the person's needing an answer. So the second stage after that, middle of April, Ken Kaufman, who's like a spiritual brother of mine, wants to turn over the reins to the newlivingexpo.com. So there's another opportunity. And for those people in my world, they're going to go, oh my God, it's another shiny object. Yet can't things, and again, it's 1 out of 10 or maybe 1 out of 100 that something comes to fruition. So it's a lot of energy spent chasing the shiny objects. I get that. And of course, being in one of those worlds called the gray wolf, chasing one's tail is part of the ritual, and you think like, doesn't it realize it's never going to catch itself? Well, that's the challenge of the gray wolf, right? So that's in one dimension. But getting back to Dr. Mike and looking at this realm, Marcus, like what is it that could be expressed completely that you wouldn't need anything else, that you're living life in that idyllic realm would be, doing some group coaching in that way, teaching something, right? This mastery circles model, egalitarianism, way to sort of create a self-liberation movement so we help each other get out of our stuck stories. What a challenge it is when we're all, including myself, in that story or that realm. And sometimes people get excited by my ideas and they jump out for a minute, but in the quantum leap, there's the challenge with what they call the temperature check, where it's talked about by many different speakers. From Jim Rohn, I could name really almost a dozen because I've heard it in some form or another, that we kind of readjust the dial, and if it gets too hot, we cool off. And we get back to our comfort zones. And so some of it is maybe it's a lot to take in, I get it. At the same time, though, it's really stepping up to the premise, and we're all challenged by it. Given the opportunity, why aren't we doing better, right? Why aren't we there yet? It's not to say that the why aren't we is preventing us because we're taking it from the perspective that we aren't. What would it be like if we could function, it's talking about higher level functionality now, of a sort of conscious awareness, or lighting up the frontal cortex, the cortex, of where things are led. And it's an existence in the quality of our ultra being as we dream it to be expressed. So we are in the ideal. And that's just what I was writing about, like how would it would be to create what would be considered the ideal breakthrough, so that we are breaking through to the ideal, and this is the ideal method. We can give it different names, and it could be different experiential exercises, and it could be part of a collection, like really, literally a sort of file cabinet of things that are functional. So functional files that can be downloaded, one given just how we're present. And this expression is this quotient, so the XQ, so it's the marriage of IQ and EQ, okay, which, it's not just left brain versus right brain, it's whole brain. So how can I bring out the best in you? Now, am I playing the role of a quantum consciousness coach? I'm just an experimenter. I'm in this as a social scientist, as a social philosopher, exploring ideas because I grasp, you could say on this level of being a spiritual student, the idea of cosmic consciousness. So what would it be? Transcendence above the self-actualization mode. Yet many of us, and particularly why I'm making this recording, is because we're sort of still struggling in the interlay of baby steps rather than doing stage into steps. So one stage, steps leading to the next, right? So stage by step. So you have to be willing to step up. And going back to the story of the analogy where the person at the airport might have been told that they're watching the same show over and over again is what I describe as an RTP, repeated thought pattern. And that's causing serious delays in some leaps because people are hesitant, just like, the little fledgling birdie, is learning to fly for the first time. The parents are anxious to get it off, because there's a risk. Bird doesn't fly. So it's a do or die, right? And if you look at it from the ideal perspective of, am I going to live my true life, the genuosity of this expression of what now would be called the XQ, not the excuse, but marriage of IQ and EQ, would be this ideal breakthrough, like how we could provide this for people. So potentially this, using this as a quotient in a formula, perhaps, that can be explored so we can, I have to plug in my PC while I talk to you, is elegant in the way they can relate to each other. And there's a responsibility and a factor of love here. If you're not able to get back, at least to be concise, examining oneself through a conversation or an exercise like journaling, what is it that you're confronted with? And to know that I'm your buddy and I'm here, I'm not charging you right now, unless those of you that have joined my mastermind group. Well, yeah, of course, there's a membership fee, but they're getting sort of this quality intake that's in depth in the consideration of what in depth in this initiation of an ideal. So what is this ideal? It's awareness, expressed to such a degree that we could claim it or give it some aspirational title as some reflection of mastery, which can only be expressed in the moment. Do you understand? The only mastery that's lived inside is, this love aspect that now can be expressed. And if there's a hesitancy or delay, then we're sort of like, in the quandary of it. We haven't figured it out yet. And not that we ever truly will, but at least we can leave good tracks, as my native elders would say to the gray wolf, leave good tracks, mate. So one, that there's something that's the destination of a quality. And if you're not able to express it, it's a disservice, and it's also and I'm talking about the dis, because something's waiting to be answered, and for you to step up to some role. So either accept it or not, but make it clear, so there's not a dependency or an energy, a vampire drain from time, right? So time theft or time energy vampirism, because things need to happen now in the moment. Otherwise, you're causing the people to wait for you where you need to wait on them. There's a distinction here, right? So otherwise, it's an energy drain where people have an expectation, at least of something of a politeness and a responsibility to sort of say, I'm in or I'm out, or I need a little bit more time to consider it, or these are the questions that I have. Gee, this is what I'm dealing with right now, Dr. Mike. There's not an appreciation to this gift moment, which is the present. So to truly be a master and to step up into this level, and I'm really talking about an integrity level, a visionary board, and to have that role and responsibility is to be reflective and to appreciate in the moment, to a recognition of what really truly is I-awareness, what it is that I'm thinking, and what are these impacts, particularly through the words. Am I catching myself saying these things to myself about myself or how I perceive the other to be, or wondering what's going on? That's now actualizing into something. How are you acting? A true, you could say, brethren or an emissary of this work. And again, this is an evolving thing. So it's not to make wrong or to defend what really isn't quite right, but to understand that we are where we are in our consciousness right now, and this is where things are. So there's a rightness about it. And one can defend it and get into a whole ego thing and make excuses. That's not my work. My work is to be free of that. Because the distinction of that which is perceived out there is preventing this from just naturally occurring, because we're lost in illusion. Right? We can imagine great things, and so why not consider what this New Living Expo could be if we were to assume its role, and whether it's a cooperative opportunity or something else that, a gain sharing, community cooperative, or it's at least initiating community conversations on a level that's really profound. At least inviting people to engage, and this might be this one marker event where we come together to do coaching and counseling and to give certification, because people have met certain levels and they've gone through the A, B, and C advanced level. See my little hands gesturing. So it's imagining the premise, but now it's stepping into something, right? And so the I-awareness is the level of my thinking. I'm ready to engage it or not, and out of this love and appreciation and fairness, to explore it responsibly, yes, and then to come to some sort of decision, or which constitutes direction in the way you want to play or not play, where you want to go or not go. But to hold things off and to delay in the time puts everyone who wants to be involved in this project, and this is the initiation of a friendship fellowship. What's the quality of our friendship connection? And if it's not existent, and there's no willingness to go there, we have to respect that it's not going to happen. And maybe at another time. And to let things go so there is the freedom. This is what friendship really is. So to grant this freedom to be who you are, just the quality of the initiation is the fellowship. How are we going to engage each other? And can we step up and look, if there is some kind of consciousness involved, somewhere to hear about criticism, the test for me in the coaching is, are they going to go in the ego route? Oh, make the excuse and steal my time, where we could get to the heart of the matter. Because everything that's considered that which is out there is illusion. And to talk about that is to ignore what's pristine and what's here and now. So it's a whole new level of integrating these ideas, and this is what the ideal breakthrough would be. And it's expressed in the phenomena of this here and nowness, which the new book, book.com, evolves not just around, but in. This inner sourcing now becomes a springboard, right? Because what's expressed is the XQ. We could say XP because it's expression, and it's a presentation of this. And how we're present is the quality of this, what's showing up. So the greatest master that's ever walked this earth or ever dimension, the everworld dimension of the universe, resides here within thee. It's within you. So how do we make this XP sort of an expression of who we are now? Now, maybe it's not going to happen because we're not prepared to sort of take on these levels, whether we launch a visionary board mastermind group. And it begins here, that formats out through conscious community conversations that evolves a true friendship fellowship. Now, I know there's a lot of ideas because, there's a lot of planetary in the celestial world around our ideas. But to grasp one thing, that we are here representing something as emissaries of a work that has its reflection or attractor factors or lead magnets to bring people into fruition, and for nothing else than to have a conscious consideration for what this is. This is a true evolution. So it's really evolved beyond something. If we're looking at quantum consciousness and true change, right? It's lasting, sustainable, desirable future change, right? This is something we all desire and we can manage, and to grow it, well, this is the quantum leap then, right? This is transformation, right? This is the true shift. So to keep the conscious focus on the dialogue versus the egocentric things that kind of go, oh no, that, or something catching the dialogue, the self-talk, right? That diluting from having the actual conscious conversation, the consideration of what this is. This would be our true community conscious contribution, right? This is how we show up in community. And so whether it's a cosmic conscious community and we're having these conversations that are really great that we record as a podcast or become part of a course, these are the considerations. Anything else that's projected, that is illusion. And while it might be fun to consider and play it out in a Gendenken, which is a thought experiment, there has to be the momentary self-awareness, like, I'm willing to engage because I'm looking for this output. And whether it's incorporating my ideas about ego or self-liberation, which is really Guy Finley's work, it's to come together in some way that we can format something that has a long-lasting legacy because I'm looking at it to maximize impacts in a positive way. So truly, this is an amazing invitation and a gift in the way that we can appreciate each other's work and support each other along this journey. For we have to let go of the old self, otherwise we're stuck in sort of thinking of a quantum leap rather than having it, right? So I'd like for you to get back, with me as soon as you can on some of these ideas. And yeah, it took 17 minutes of your time, but hopefully there's something here you go, oh my gosh, I want to be at the forefront of something. I want to be part of the leadership of leading the leap. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you're jumping first. Yeah, the pioneers get the arrows. We know this. Well, be prepared to take a few. So to delay, to procrastinate, puts other people in the quandary, puts people back into the mass trance. Things need to be responsive in a way that, well, there is responsible deliberation and consideration for things, and it's fine to say I'll get back to you, but some kind of notification like text like, hey, I'm thinking about this, or wow, hey, I need a few more days, or hey, Mike, I don't want to say this to you and to your face, and so I'm just going to fade away. I'm going to ghost you for a few days. I know that's not the intention, but the impacts and the affects, the after effect is there, right? There's reverberations. So let's have something where, yeah, there could be a reverberation. I'm thinking like, wow, there's so many good ideas here. Let's consider it. Well, let's plan a time for us to talk and meet again, whether by Zoom or we start a community conversation and we come together as a community in a conscious deliberation of what it is that we're experiencing, and whether it's about phenomenology or ego or waking up from the mass trance. Let's at least have a conversation about it. Start something anew. CommunityConversations.com.